Als nächsten Redner einen Wissenschaftler vorstellen, der vom bereits erwähnten KIT in Karlsruhe zu uns kommt. Dr. Somidh Saha wird den dritten Vortrag des heutigen Tages übernehmen. Er ist von Haus aus, was ich sehr sympathisch finde, Zoologe. Das eint uns beide. Und er ist aber auch noch Forstwissenschaftler und arbeitet am Institut für Technikfolgenabschätzung und Systemanalyse am KIT. Und auch in seiner Forschung geht es um eine ganz zentrale Zukunftsfrage, nämlich wie können Bäume in Städten oder auf städtischen Grünflächen widerstandsfähiger werden oder wie kann man ihre Widerstandsfähigkeit fördern, insbesondere gegenüber dem Klimawandel, gegenüber Urbanisierung und zunehmenden Nutzungskonflikten. Gemeinsam mit dem Gartenbauamt in Karlsruhe hat er mit seinem Team praxisnahe Lösungen entwickelt für die Pflege, für den Erhalt, für die Weiterentwicklung von Stadtbäumen und von mit ihnen bestandenen Flächen. Und eine ganz wichtige Rolle spielen dabei digitale Zwillinge. Digitale Zwillinge von realen Bäumen, also sehr präzise 3D-Modelle, mit denen sich Entwicklungen simulieren, Maßnahmen testen und auch Entscheidungen besser vorbereiten lassen. Darüber und was das letzten Endes für städtische Vegetation, Stadtgrün, auch Stadtwaldgrün bedeutet, darüber wird Herr Dr. Saha uns heute informieren, basierend auf der Arbeit der von ihm geleiteten Innovationsgruppe Urboretum. Alles zugunsten einer grüneren Zukunft unserer Städte. Sein Vortrag trägt den Titel Anwendung von digitalen Zwillingen und KI zur Verbesserung der Nachhaltigkeit und Widerstandsfähigkeit von Bäumen. Dabei bitte ich Sie zu beachten, dass Herr Dr. Saha den Vortrag in Englisch halten wird. Die Folien sind auf Deutsch und Sie können auch im Anschluss Ihre Fragen an Herrn Saha dann in Deutsch stellen. Und weil gerade die Frage aufkam, für Sie und auch für all Ihre nächsten oder nachfolgenden Redner, weil die Frage aufkam eben, wie viel Zeit habe ich denn noch? Hier unten unter dem Monitor, da haben wir eine Uhr versteckt, da laufen die 30 Minuten ab, die an Vortragszeit zur Verfügung stehen und da können Sie sich dann gerne immer auch hier oben orientieren. So, jetzt kommen noch die letzten Einstellungen. Herr Saha hat uns einige Animationen auch mitgebracht, wird uns auch einen digitalen Zwilling dann hier mal zeigen, dass Sie sich das besser vorstellen können, wenn Sie das Konzept vielleicht noch nicht so detailliert kennen. So, are you ready?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so we can start. So, please enjoy the talk of Somidh Saha.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So, I have to go here and then maybe.
Die Ansicht stimmt. So.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, so vielen Dank und ganz herzlichen Dank für diese Einladung. Und Frau Baumann und auch ich freue mich, hier zu sein. Und mein Deutsch ist nicht so fleißig für ganze Vortrag in Deutsch, eine wissenschaftliche Vortrag in Deutsch zu machen. Ich lerne jetzt Deutsch B2-1 Niveau, so meine alltägliche Deutsch ist okay. So deswegen, ich habe alle Slides in Deutsch gemacht oder übersetzt. Hilfe von KI, aber ich hatte ein bisschen B2-1 Niveau Grammatik, so ich habe auch ein bisschen korrigiert. Und ja, so switch to English. Originally, my title was Resilience of not only for trees, but urban and peri-urban forest. So somehow I did not see that in the flyer, so I kept my original title. This is a joint work between me, Sven König, and Thorsten Lipka from Greyhill. So what is a urban and peri-urban forest? Any trees, like this beautiful picture of Karlsruhe, In the center, you have the castle and the German Supreme Court. And in our definition, or United Nations definition of urban and peri-urban forest is quite interesting. So single trees which are growing near the street or in the plaza, in cemeteries, in university campus, in courtyards or in parks, and also in the forest, they're all part of this ecosystem, which is a mixture of natural and built ecosystem, which can be termed as urban and peri-urban forest. Unfortunately, we have a lot of death of trees in our region in Karlsruhe, but also in other part in Germany and many other parts in the world. So trees in urban and peri-urban forests dying prematurely due to climate change impact, like heat waves, drought, and plant diseases. In 2018 and 19, a very dry year, 30% of trees which are young, less than 10 meters in height, near streets, they have died. And when we lost one tree in city, we lost around 5,000 euros of planting cost, because planting perhaps one tree in the forest, could be around anything 10, 15 euro maybe today. But planting one tree in city cost anything between 4,000 to 5,000 euro. And we do have a lot of challenge when it comes to tree care. As per German law, every city has to maintain a Baumkataster or tree cadastre, and they need to regularly check the health of those trees, because it is related to the safety. If somebody got injured by a tree owned by Karlsruhe city, for example, then city also has some responsibility. Karlsruhe has 145,000 of single standing trees, and we have only 5 tree inspector or Baum controller who has to go to those trees every year officially and record whether they're healthy or unhealthy. And we have a lot of shortage of qualified person in Gartenbauamt, and we also have a lot of shortage of finance. So it is a big problem to regularly monitor those trees, for example. When it comes to the city forest, or Gemeindewald, we have, or Stadtwald we sometimes call, it's 2,250 hectares of forest of Karlsruhe city is managed by city administration, and we also have a lot of trees which are dying due to climate change impact, and that overwhelm the city administration to balance between, for example, restoration activity, sanitation activity, and protection or security activities in the forest, and also maintaining the forest as an open place for recreation purpose. In this context, we have a large project called Urboretum, and we have multiple work packages. By the way, I have a QR code at the end of my presentation, so you can scan and download all the materials that I am presenting here. The main aim of the project is to overall improve the tree health and management in urban and peri-urban forest, understand the ecological processes behind the supply of ecosystem services, and how urban and peri-urban forests are related to human well-being, for example, and improve the urban silviculture and arboriculture. There is one work package, Tree Ecos, led by me, which is, for example, focusing on biodiversity and ecological processes of stem growth and allometric equation. One work package led by Jürgen Bachus from Uni Freiburg about how retrospective analysis, dendroecological analysis can help to study the city tree growth in urban and peri-urban forest and relate with the drought. One work package by Tamalika Chakraborty and Sebastian Schmidlein about irrigation experiment and how irrigation can be optimized and how the tree health can be improved. We have a very, very interesting work package called Tree Neuro, led by Professor Heike Tost from Uni Heidelberg, who look about how neurological and psychological variables can be influenced by occurrence of green space. We have a work package by Tree Inspect. Frank is here today also, we'll talk later, where we look about the internal trunk damage assessment inside the tree. And then we have the work package Digital Twin, which I will go more detail today, which looks about street trees. And then we are also working together with City Karlsruhe they are helping us to co-create the research questions and then also co-implement that. So in general, our project is quite inter and transdisciplinary. We have a strong connection between science, industry, and the city or community. So digital twin, I will now focus briefly about our work package Tree Twin. Digital twin is a process where you can have a virtual representation of an object system or a process with a continuous data that you collect in real world, and then you could forecast that if you have a problem. And this digital twin concept was first created by NASA for astronaut program, particularly for Apollo program. Nowadays, it's used in many areas, including smart cities. What we have done, we have used state-of-the-art mobile laser scanner and high-resolution panoramic camera to scan around 55,000 trees in 4 cities in 2 years. And last year, we only focused on Karlsruhe, Mannheim, and Freiburg. In 2024, we scanned trees in Karlsruhe, Mannheim, Freiburg, and also in Heidelberg. These 55,000 trees were distributed between park, street, and cemeteries, street trees, and the whole scanning was quite fast. So the first step was to create a very, very detailed centimeter accurate point cloud of the whole city environment and also the urban morphology of that whole city, and then particularly point to the trees which are growing there. And in the next step, then we use the point cloud, panoramic picture, multispectral picture, and AI to create a 4D digital twin, so 3-dimensional, and another D is the time. So if you scan continuously, then you could create how the city forest is changing, for example. And finally, when you have a digital twin of the trees, then you know exact size of the tree, you know the species, you have many other variables, and with that variables you can calculate a lot of more information. I will come to those information later. If time permits, I will show you 3 trees from our digital twin. But I can tell you that you can know about ecosystem services from those trees, benefits, the health of those trees, and so on. So it's very important to know whether the data we are collecting is correct and accurate, and therefore, for 20% of the total population of the data, we do some sort of truthing. Baumkataster was a great help because Baumkataster already tell us the location of the tree and the size and the species, for example. And then also the arborist researchers, they go to the local area and the place and do the training at local scale to find out the outliers or to find out the mistakes. There is a lot of mission planning involved. So here what you see in these are the routes of data collection in those lines, from peri-urban area to urban area, from impervious surface to less impervious area. And those vehicles that I showed you, there was 2 cars and 1 rover. Rover was used for, or the small golf cart was used for scanning the park and cemeteries, and the car was used to scan the street trees. And different color means that it's where to go first. We cannot scan all the trees in one go because then the data and all the driver capacity will be overloaded. So the guys who are scanning, they kind of plan that, okay, we finish this part of the city and then move on. That's exactly the scanning route of Karlsruhe city. In the circle, you have the numbers, which means that in those areas, we have this amount of trees. And then you could also see for the Schloss Park, the Castle Garden in Karlsruhe, where you could also see how the canopy was, for example, distributed. When you look into the digital twin, so you got a point cloud of the tree, and you have exact picture of the tree. So you could compare, for example, you have a lot of information about the current state, base attributes, history, and then we have a new function called monitor over time, because we scan the trees in 2024, and we also scan the trees in 2025. And in this particular case, the area which are a bit pinkish violet, they are the area where you have a little bit canopy open, or the leaf area is not so packed. And when you have multiple scan, then you could also compare your variables, for example, how it change over time. Okay. I'd like to come about the financial benefit. If you think about a new system, you have to think about the cost effectiveness of this system and the practicality of this system. First, I need to little bit explain the key performance indicator that's often used in forestry planning, for example. So key performance indicator is the effectiveness when you, for example, scan your trees versus traditional way of tree inventory. And then the area that you can look is, for example, Baumpflege or tree care, or betterment of resource use efficiency, like use of water, for example, or betterment of falling of the trees, so more safety, and also, for example, the productivity increase of the whole department, say in this case, Gartenbauamt, Karlsruhe, or any department who are interested. So when it comes to the cost for 2 times scanning, if you do in a 2 years basis, that you come every 2 years, for example, it will be around €3, provided that you have, say, around 140, 150,000 trees or more to scan. If you scan few amount of trees, then the management cost will increase. And these statistics below here is calculated by Grihil, not for Germany, but for city of Vancouver as a case study area in Canada. And they have found that 25% of reduction in overall tree care cost can be achieved. There could be 40% betterment of resource use efficiency, particularly related to the city trees are irrigated, so irrigation, for example, and more carbon storage through better planning of the area, and also planting trees or managing trees in a way that they contribute in air quality improvement, like reduction of PM 2.5, PM 10, and other gaseous pollutants like carbon dioxide to SO2 to NO2, for example. There could be 80% reduction of case of tree fall or tree fall related incidents if you have a proper knowledge and proper stock of where you have your trees, and you know that these are my trees where I need a better care. So I really like at the very morning somebody said that AI or KI of Deutsch not really changing your position or job, it just help us, for example, to improve the management. That is a nice case, a nice way of pragmatic thinking. And overall, if the departments are very much under stress due to lack of human resources, qualified human resources, and funding and fund in general, then there could be also 30% overall increase of productivity. The key message for this work package or tree twin, so at this moment we have created the digital twin. What I am presenting is just 3 weeks old, so I myself do not know yet all the programs and all the things I could do in the program. So the main message is that it could be very effective for managing trees, inventorizing the trees in the city, particularly single standing trees, if they are located in street, park, garden, cemetery, plaza, or courtyards can be very, very cost effective, and you could calculate all kind of ecosystem services based on your inventory, because the Greenhill platform is working together with multiple software and multiple companies. They can provide you more information about the trees, for example, and that overall improve the sustainable management of area of your trees. And if you know these are the area where I need to intervene, these are the area I need to do proper tree care, then you could distribute your resource more efficiently, and that will increase, of course, the overall resilience of this area. In this presentation, when I talked, I did not go very detailed about sustainability and social ecological resilience or resilience, because I thought I should not become too detailed on that. But when I mean about resilience, I mean that the capacity of urban and peri-urban forests to withstand drought. And that can be improved, for example, improving the management, selecting of the proper species, so you can have a multiple indicator of resilience. Sustainability, I mean that for our future generation, for our child, we could provide the green space as it is and help or improve it or help the well-being. That is then contribution to the sustainability. So the sustainability and resilience you should see as a more holistic terminology than a single variable. I did not go very detailed about this here. Also, these 55,000 trees created an enormous amount of data for researchers like us. I am not trained as an engineer. I'm a forest ecologist, studied forestry, zoology. And for me, the data had created a lot of opportunity to create allometric model, to study the impact of crown loss on leaf area and so on. And again, we have very few person who can do very effectively the job of arborist or tree controlling. And if they have a digital twin with them together, it could be very, very efficient. I have to tell you here that in Germany, as per law, if somebody get injured by the tree, then the legality belongs to the person, not a KI. So if KI say, oh, that tree was healthy, but then somebody got injured, KI cannot take a responsibility. That is, by law, there must be a human behind it. So therefore, I say the ultimate decision, whether you should do a pruning or whether you should do a felling of a tree, you should do based on KI, based on human plus KI or a digital twin as a supporting partner. So this could be differ with other countries who have different law for tree care, for example. All right. I want to tell you that as you guys are mostly coming from Forest Service, perhaps, I was also thinking, and I was then tasked to talk about digital twin, which was created for city trees and park trees, and I was thinking what could be the relevance. So I now go one flight height above and think about the whole Arboretum project, not only a work package, and try to make you 4 points about how this project in general can help you also to improve the forest management, particularly if the forest is Stadtwald or Gemeindewald. Which tree species you want to plant in the future. So Karlsruhe, for example, or the Upper Rhine Valley will become extremely hot. We have 33 species in the forest of Karlsruhe, around 25, 26 are native, and we have found around 10 to 15 species native who are already under high stress. So we need to think about new species. And the project Arboretum, I just kick out the Arboretum from A and I put U there, thinking that city tree itself is a lab. The trees in the city is growing in a lab because it's a very, very extreme environment. So lessons learned from this project will be very helpful also for foresters in future to think about new species. Then a new debate will start, which is between biodiversity and not all kind of biodiversity of native flora and fauna, which is very important, and exotic versus native species, tree species, and then climate change adaptation capacity. And for that, our project can contribute to create more evidence. For example, what is the habitat diversity capacity of different tree species? And by that way, we can contribute in the decision-making process, for example. And right now, the Greenhill program, they are trying to train their software, their instruments, their scanning thing for more trees where clumpy formation is happening, which you can find in the park, which is a little bit not properly managed, turning towards more forest, but not yet a forest. There they are trying to improve. Hopefully in future it could be used also for creation of digital twin in the forest. We cannot go inside with a car or a rover, but maybe with drone or with human support. But that could be a kind of future use. And Frank, for example, he will talk later, also working greatly in our project, could be very interesting to develop software and hardware solution to understand the internal damage of the trees without falling them, which could not only help the city trees, but also the decision on forest trees. For any questions if you have related to ecological and urban forestry questions, you can write to me. If you have questions on technology, scanning, everything, all engineering questions, you could send to Sven, who was a German engineer. Initially, Greenhill was created in Singapore because to create that company, they had a lot of bureaucracy. So they first created the company Singapore, and now they are back, and now they have a German company in Hanover. So you can also talk with Sven. Urboritum is funded for 2024 to 2029 by Federal Ministry of Research, Technology and Space, and it is one of the 10 Regulus cluster that government formed, and only cluster on urban and peri-urban forestry. With that, I would like to thank you, but you can scan, for example, here if you want. I can wait for a few seconds, and then I have 6 minutes still, so I can use, for example, the platform to show you. That was also my idea to complete my talk in 24, 25 minutes. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Or I can also send you this later on. And now I switch to my computer. Hope internet will not make a problem. Good. So this is what you see the Karlsruhe city. I have here other cities also. So Karlsruhe, for example, Heidelberg. I also scanned Karlsruhe in 2022 for a preliminary study before we did this major one, and Mannheim. But I want to be within Karlsruhe. And these squares, they tell you, this circle, they tell you how many trees you have in certain area. And I have a favorite place, Schlosspark, because my university is not too far away from there. And it's good for going a walk after lunch. And I do have a favorite tree. I don't know how that tree became favorite to me. And by the way, I did once upon a time PhD on oak trees. So oak remain a favorite species from Europe, and fig trees in India, these two species remain a favorite for me. So I want to select this guy here, which would be around 150 maybe. And what you see here in the down is the data sheet. So these are 22,447 Karlsruhe with lots of information on there. You could download that. And basically, if you click here to, now it's circling, please work. Okay, so you see the digital twin, and then when you go to the parallel view, you could see exactly the tree. You could see the tree in the tree view and see how they are distributed. You could also move on to compare that with the real picture, for example. And here you could do a fun fact that you could also say, I want to only get trunk and branch. Then you could also know where are those branches, for example. And you could zoom in and so on. Here in this side, for example, these circles, the outliers, when I click on outliers, it shows that the DBH versus leaf area, height versus crown volume, DBH versus height, leaf area versus crown volume, and DBH versus crown volume, this allometric relationship follow the normal relationship. So this tree is not an outlier. So, but when I look to the structure, I could also did not see any abnormality in terms of strange formation, for example. But when I look to health, I could see that there is no dieback, but the foliage transparency, so the amount of sky you can see through the tree, for example, is kind of not so good. So, well, the tree is more than 150 years old, standing alone in Schloss Park. So you can think about that oak trees as they ages, and they ages faster in the city. It's becoming, the senescence of the trees happens earlier than the forest, okay? So this is not normal, not abnormal, I would say. And there is one factor, I hope I can find it. So there was one factor called risk assessment. Okay, I first show you the benefits. So the benefits can be calculated like all kind of ecosystem service that provided by the tree. How that was done? That was done with a program called iTree Eco, funded by US Forest Service and multiple other tree management companies from the America and Europe also. We improve iTree Eco for Karlsruhe. So we fitted our data for iTree Eco to make it better. But unfortunately, Trump administration stopped funding for US Forest Service research, urban forestry research section. So in future, I don't know how long I could show this valuable information. So I am in touch with my American colleagues, and they say they are trying to see if iTree Eco can be funded by the companies. But as it was originally created by US Forest Service, the intellectual right still belongs to them, and initially they made it free for all over the world. But at the moment, we could still work with that. Not all predictions you can say 100% perfect. These are kind of model that you have to continuously feed on the data. The more data you can provide, some of our work is to collect actual data and feed the model. And yes, so I give you one factor maybe, which all are interesting, but I give you, as I have only 1 minute and 50 seconds left. So water intercepted, look about this variable. So if you take out this tree, it means the 40 cubic meter of water is falling directly from the sky to the ground without being intercepted. So the probability of flooding then will increase. So this sort of information, when you present to Gemeinderat or you present to the city, you know, we human, we don't care unless we know the value. And when we have the value, perhaps we care. Although nowadays I feel whether we really do. But that was one tree, and I want to show you another tree. This is tree number 24654. And this tree is located in a street, and you could also very nicely see, for example, what I wanted to show here is this strange situation that this tree is basically touching the building. So if you know that which tree has a probability that they can touch your building, you could have a more focus on them. For example, you just optimize your management. And then I wanted to show another tree. That would be my last tree. Oopsie. Okay. 1857. And this is a date tree. Okay, I think I will stop now because, it's coming. So it's a date tree, and you could also see that if tree is date, that is also, so when it comes to date survey or standing date survey, you could also have a nice view of your tree, and that can also calculate a lot of carbon storage factors. So with that, I want to thank you very much, and if you have questions, you can write me directly. Thank you.
So, thank you. So, yeah. Thanks a lot, Dr. Saha. I've rarely seen a scientist who is so smart struggling with the time. So it's very great.
No, you have this year. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but we have some time here right now for some questions about the details of your work. Und wenn Sie Fragen an Herrn Dr. Saha haben, die sich heraus ergeben haben, vielleicht auch um dieses wunderbare Modell noch zu vertiefen, stellen Sie sie gerne. Kommen Sie gerne ans Mikrofon, verraten Sie uns kurz, mit wem wir das Vergnügen haben und wie wir Ihnen weiterhelfen können.
Ja, vielen Dank. Mein Name ist Thomas Schlimme. Ich bin umweltpolitischer Sprecher der Grünen im Römer. Und meine Frage ist bezogen auf die Biodiversität, Insekten an Stadtbäumen zum Beispiel und dann später auch Insekten an Waldbäumen. Wie fließt in Ihr Modell ein, ob ein Baum geeignet ist für einheimische Insekten und Vögel und Pilze und sowas, also eigentlich alle Organismen? Wie fließt das in Ihr Modell ein?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the question. At the moment, we have in this program, in Digital Twin, we do not have a factor called biodiversity value of a tree or ecological value of a tree. So that was the case until now, but we want to add that. That would be something we are trying, that if you have a Quercus robur, a steel Eiche, and a Quercus rubra, a root Eiche, then a city planner should know what is the differences in terms of habitat capacity. The digital twin could not collect all those data, so we are trying to collect those data through, so we are monitoring in addition around 2,000 trees, where we have detailed investigation on microhabitat, which kind of animals are living there, and we have many sensors and cameras fit on those. So this is part of the Urboritum project, and later on we can create an equation to have the biodiversity value versus species and DBH, and then we could add that. The Gartenbauamtleiter Conference, which provide a Strassenbaumliste, for example, for them would be also very interesting if they have these values in addition. Because when you come to a very, very dry place like Europaplatz Karlsruhe, maybe they will think about Gliritzia triacanthus or Ailanthus altissima, super exotic and not helpful, but they will survive, they will create the shade. But how that influence the spread of diseases or spread of biodiversity, then you need to monitor biodiversity from the city center to the forest. And that, we have a PhD student, and she is exactly doing that. So hopefully, not for all species. In Karlsruhe region has around 25 to 30 native tree species, and around 100 exotic tree species from all over the world, for example. But at least for few species, say around 15 to 20, we could say that in more detail. But for that, we are not only working with Gartenbauamt, but we are also working together with Forstamt Karlsruhe and Umweltamt Karlsruhe. And that is a very good question. So this is something, ongoing research. Yeah.
Dankeschön. Gibt es weitere Fragen? Ein bisschen Zeit haben wir noch. Bitte schön, kommen Sie gerne ans Mikrofon.
Erstmal moin, ich bin Anwärter bei Hessenforst, Daniel Tausch mein Name. Ich hätte zwei Fragen. Zum einen bei dem Scannen von den Bäumen an der Straße, wenn man das vom Auto aus macht, hat man ja eigentlich immer einen gewissen Winkel, der nicht erfasst wird. Wie wird mit dem umgegangen? Und dann die zweite Frage wäre, wie mit, ich sag mal, recht kleinen Punkten am Baum umgegangen wird, die aber relevant sind für eine beispielsweise Standsicherheit. Also wenn ich jetzt an den Brandkrustenpilz beispielsweise denke.
Okay,
Genau.
Good, thank you. Is it possible to go back to the screen again? Because I have a slide for that. Okay, super. When it comes to the street scanning, we are not driving the car more than 20 kilometers per hour. We had to take, therefore, a special permission from city administration so the car can drive on that speed. In some street, it can be a problem. And you have the sensors on the top of the car, but they can view 360 degree, and they could scan. They could have a 500 scan line per second. So basically, you could see at the height of the car everything in all direction. There are a lot of data which would be, for example, private data, like the trees, the trees which belongs to somebody else, not owned by Karlsruhe city, and there could be a lot of private information. So they had to be all eliminated, and for that we need a lot of additional information from Karlsruhe city. We do have a problem. The problem is that you could not see very, very below. So that means or you have to do that very slowly, then you can see it. So if you are going 20 kilometers per hour, you could have a high resolution for certain height, but below that it could be a problem. But we try to do that by doing some more ground truthing and some information then we collect later. Regarding your second questions, the digital twin works pretty well for single standing trees. When a tree has a diameter at 1.3 meter, 3 centimeter or more, so and at 1.3 meter height to above, it can see properly. But think about a stem is connected below as a clump or as a stump, then it will not see this, it cannot distinguish unless it see the below. In that case, in the clump, we have to be more careful and send people and go that, do that additionally. But as I said that, I mean the Greenhill is the largest company in the world, or I would say Greenhill is the company in the world who has the largest amount of tree scanning data. They have scanned now millions of trees, and more tree they scan, they have more information and improve this. But there are of course some issues. I mean, we scan 55,000 trees in a span of a week, so this is a very, very fast measurement. But yeah.
Okay. So, thank you very much.
Yes.
Ihnen ganz herzlichen Dank für die Fragen. Und wir machen jetzt hier einen kleinen Switch mit